Hello, fellow parents and educators. Thank you for joining me at Education Evolution, where we are disrupting the status quo in today's learning models. We talk about present-day education, what's broken, who's fixing it, and how. I'm Dr. Maureen O'Shaughnessy, your host and founder of Education Evolution and the Microschool Coalition, where we are fiercely committed to changing the narrative, to reimagining the education landscape and creating learning that serves all children and prepares them to thrive. If you are new, welcome to the podcast. Please subscribe on our website to get it delivered to your inbox weekly. If you've been around a while, have you left a review? Hi, Andrew. It is so good to have you on Education Evolution.
Good morning, Maureen. It's an honor to be on. I'm a big fan of the work you're doing and your message to all educators and school people out there. So happy to be on.
Thank you. Listeners, today I'm chatting with Andrew Marotta. He is usually the one running the interview on his ELB podcast, Educational Leadership and Beyond, which has over 130 episodes. Andrew is a fired up principal, author, podcaster, and inspirational speaker. He's led the transformation of his Port Jervis High School, including increasing the graduation rate by over 20%. His use of positive mindset to encourage educational leaders and motivate teams and create positive impact are needed now more than ever. Listen up and hear how we can keep morale up and learning happening no matter the situation. Andrew, you are energized, and we all know that positive mindset is key to kids being mentally ready to learn. How do you make that happen at your high school?
Yeah, Maureen, thanks. That's the magic question, isn't it? Right? And
Yep.
I wish I had the perfect answer, the perfect recipe that we can give out, but we all know it's not like that. It's a combination of factors. You know, I have the belief that we need to come into school every day and put our best foot forward. We have the mindset of treat every kid as if they are your kid, right? So that means the building has to be clean. That means things have to look sharp. And, you know, I treat it like a restaurant, right? You know, would you want to go into a restaurant that was maybe dirty or dark or gloomy or didn't have a good smell of food or weren't warmly greeted, right? When you go into a restaurant, right? Does someone say, sit any way you want? You know, so all of those little things go into making a positive, not only student experience, but a place that people want to work as well. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. And I try to put a positive imprint on each one of them because they're all important. We have new freshmen starting in our school, you know, every around the country, right? In September, brand new freshmen. And what is their experience like? So I think there's so many factors that go into the experience even before you get into the classroom, and then certainly followed up by a robust and enthused classroom setting. So just a lot of those type things, and I know we can go in a little deeper as we talk a little more.
Absolutely. I love that restaurant analogy. That makes perfect sense. Hey, another hat that you wear, and you make a lot of great connections between educational leadership and this, is that you serve as a Division I college basketball official. What do you think is like one of your many lessons from being a basketball official that is serving you well now?
Yeah, I love that time, Maureen. I actually stepped away, was the first year, the 1920 school year. I stepped away. I got involved with coaching and mentoring principals. This is my 16th year as a school leader. And I found a greater impact on helping those school communities than blowing the whistle. But some of the takeaways I had, right? You're in that arena. You're in those bright lights. You're in with people making emotional opinions of your work, right? So I got used to dealing with that, right? So as an official, no one's really ever happy with the decisions you make, right? I know I have to make the right call. Well, it's similar in schools. You have to make the right decisions. Doing what's best for the school might not be the most popular for everybody, and we have to make that. I'm also used to talking and dealing with people at high emotions, right? Parents very passionate about their children. Teachers are very passionate about the work that they do. So how do you talk to people when they are at high levels of intensity? That's another thing I learned on the job refereeing. And a couple other things, right? Looking and acting the part. I think it's important. Some mentors told me, Andrew, half the battle of gaining trust is when you walk on the court. Do you look the part? Are you clean shaven? Are you standing up tall? Are your shoulders back? Is your uniform pressed? So today, right, at school, I had on a tie. My shirt was clean. My shoes were shined, and I try to look and act the part. And then the last thing, kind of like you touched on earlier, Maureen, is having energy and enthusiasm. The referee that slogs up and down the court or maybe looks like he doesn't want to be there versus the guy who's hustling down the court and getting into position and giving strong signals, right? I try to show that and model that here at school when I'm in the halls or I'm in classrooms or I'm in the school assembly, right? Being enthused about what I'm doing and acting that I want to be here. And I think all of those things are contagious, but are transmitted to the students.
Absolutely. You remind us of how important all the pieces of the puzzle are. Love that. Andrew, you're also a husband and a father, and right now a lot of learning is happening at home and has been for the past number of months. So how do you use your positive energy and extra effort to support learning on the home front?
Yeah, Maureen, that's another great question that we wish we had the answer
I know.
to. And there's it's a lot of learning, right? I believe it's okay to fail. I believe it's okay to try things, right? I know teachers and students really thrive on routines, but now is the time to try new things. Now is the time to do new things, right? Even you with your Education Evolution podcast, right? It's growing, it's changing. You're meeting different guests, you're doing different things. So I would encourage educators to have the same mindset. This is the time to try new and different things. And
Yes.
to the students, right? How do you become a good digital student? How do you engage through using the computer, right? And there's all different kinds of tools. You can use the chat. You could raise your hand electronically. You could take your camera off and show your face and raise your hand, literally, right? And kudos to those teachers that are trying to entertain both the kids in front of them and those on the computer. That's another great challenge. But really, I would say, Maureen, is do the best you can and be kind to people, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. Do the best you can and be kind to people. That speaks volumes. Along that line, I love your blog post about time to think on that. I mean, it's so true as leaders. We often don't have the right answer right away or any answer, especially right now. So how can we help parents, students, teachers be more comfortable with so much uncertainty?
Another good question. You're on fire, Maureen. I think you have to be patient, right? Don't overreact. You come home from work, you ask your child, well, how was school today? Well, the teacher, they did this on the computer or they did this on Zoom or this, right? Take some time to digest. Things might not always be as they seem. I have another saying that we use, fear, false evidence appearing real, right? An acronym, fear.
Yes.
So patience, understanding, right? One of the 7 habits, right? Seek to understand before being understood, right? So I just try to be very, very patient with people. I think we are seeing more of that due to the pandemic, right? Everybody is under duress somewhere, somehow. So I would just offer patience, calm, take a deep breath, and maybe don't overreact, right? What stress is that person going through, whether it's the teacher, the student, the parent? They're all trying to do the best they can, but maybe that person lost a loved one due to COVID. Maybe they lost a job due to COVID. Maybe that kid can't put their computer screen on because they're not pleased with what their background looks like, and they might be a little embarrassed or unsure about showing that. So if the teacher is saying, hey, I need to see you, but the kid doesn't want to put the camera on, we got to have some understanding of those things. So that's what I would kind of offer about, just being patient and understanding of other scenarios, even if we don't know what those are.
I think that empathy is so important, and people are frazzled and stressed and tired of the limbo. So reminding them to be kind and to not assume that hey, who knows what's the reason behind something, and to give people the benefit of the doubt now more than ever seems pretty important.
Sure. Absolutely.
What's the biggest challenge you're grappling with right now, Andrew?
Maureen, I try to put, my focus on what I'm doing, being present. So when I'm at school, I want to be all in and focused on that, doing a great job. When I'm home with my children, I want to be focused and dialed in and doing a great job, whether it's washing the dishes or cleaning the kitchen or whatever, or taking the dog out. I want to be present for them. When I'm doing my writing of my blog or my books or whatever, I want to be present in the moment. What I'm finding now, Maureen, as a challenge is those areas are creeping into the other area, right? I learned as a referee, right? When I'm on that court, I have to be 100% dialed in. I can't be thinking that my kid might be sick or is the flight going to be canceled on the way home because there's bad weather coming? Like, I can't be distracted. I'm blessed with ADD. I say it's a blessing, not a curse. And that gives me my energy. My friend Peter Shankman, a shout out. Faster Than Normal is his podcast. He's great, but sometimes I go faster than normal, and those worlds collide, as they said in Seinfeld, right? My worlds collide.
Yes.
So separating it all sometimes can be a challenge, but I want to be present and focused on those that I am serving at that time. And then, trying to get it all in, right? It's the coffee cup in the 7 Habits. If you've ever seen that video, right? You have it's called the big rocks, right? You put those big rocks in your cup first, right? Then you can put in the smaller rocks. Then you can put in the sand, and then you could also always have room for a cup of coffee, and you pour the coffee in the cup, and it all fits. Those are things that I'm struggling with at this time to balance it all and make it all fit.
Is there something in particular you do when you find like you're not in the present moment, that you're feeling kind of scattered? Do you have any little strategies that help you get refocused?
I learned a lot along the way, and that's a great question. One of the things is chunking the work, right? I have my cell phone here. I know you and I have a fixed amount of time. We could probably talk for hours, right? But we both have obligations. So in refereeing, people used to say, Andrew, how do you keep that focus for 2 hours, right? You're in an arena of 20,000 people, everyone's screaming, the whistles, the kid. How do you focus for 2 hours? Well, I don't focus for 2 hours. I focus for 4 minutes because there was a TV timeout at the 16-minute mark, the 12-minute mark, the 8-minute mark. This year, right, at school, how do you do it? How are you going to face the pandemic for a whole school year? I don't need to face the pandemic for a whole school year. I need to face it for 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 period at a time, where I know that when I'm at school, I want to get to that first lunch period, right? Then I'm going to handle that first lunch period. Then I'm going to handle the hallway. Then I know I have meetings. I kind of block out the times so it's not overwhelming and get to that next point, right? Then I can take a breath. Then I can take a refresh, or maybe I do a quick walk, right? Do I go outside when kids are at lunch and I do a lap around the parking lot, something like that. And maybe I call that parent while I'm outside on my phone that has been trying to get to me. So now I'm outside. I'm getting a fresh air. I could be outside. I'm making a call and I'm walking. I'm moving. That gets my blood flowing. That gets my energy going. But I handled a bunch of things, right? The kids at lunch saw me. I called that parent and I did something for me. So it's a triple win. So I guess I combine those activities when I can, but really chunking the work is a tip that I think helps to not become overwhelmed. You might look at your calendar and say, I got 8 Google meetings and I got all this stuff and then I have a parent meeting and then I got my kid's soccer game and I got, I don't look at it like that. I look at it, all right, well, what do I have until 10? And from 10 to 11, I have this. And then so it's called chunking the work.
Oh my gosh. And I can totally see that applying with overwhelmed middle and high school students with all the executive functioning. Oh my gosh, I have this big paper. Baby steps, one piece at a time, focus just on that and move. I think during the pandemic, too many people are glued to their screens, and move and get outdoors. Both of those. I mean, you wove in a lot of really cool strategies into your one example. That really is powerful.
I appreciate that. It's a dance, right? It's a ballet. You're constantly on the run. I heard a great saying from my friend, Dr. Rob Gilbert. He's a sports psychologist at Montclair State University. He's helped me grow tremendously. He does something called Success Hotline, and he leaves a 3-minute message about success every day, Maureen. That number is 973-743-4690. Again, that's Dr. Rob Gilbert's Success Hotline, 973-743-4690. It's not a gimmick. It's not a sales pitch. It's none of that. It's a guy leaving tips about success. And you mentioned about movement. So he said, your actions change your attitudes, your motion change your emotions, and your moves change your moods. And I believe in that. So every time the bell rings, I get up and I move. Every time I'm feeling a little overstressed, I move, right? If I have a difficult meeting coming up at say 10 o'clock, I'm going to set a timer for 9:50 or 9:52. And I'm going to go outside. I'm going to take some deep breaths. I'm going to do a mini meditation for a minute to dial it back in. I'm also a big sports fan, Maureen. There's a great movie with Kevin Costner. He loved baseball, and it's called For the Love of the Game.
Uh-huh.
And he plays a pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. And he had a saying called clear the mechanism. And every time before he pitched, right, you see that pitcher on the mound, he's trying to focus, he takes a deep breath. He would self-talk and say, clear the mechanism. And then you would see all of the crowd noise, all of the outside distractions got blurred and muted. And he was only able to focus on the catcher, and then he would pitch the ball. So that's another thing that I do to help me is clear the mechanism so I can be present in the moment of those stressful situations.
Wonderful strategies. And I definitely want to call the number, and I'll make sure I put it in the show notes along with your book and all your other things, because resources are something we can always use more of. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, he's awesome. You'll love Dr. Rob.
Nice. Final question. If you had a magic wand, and I know you've done so much work with school leaders that ideas will come to mind, what would you bestow upon our educational leaders to help them do some of the amazing things you've done, like lower graduation rates, manage the learning during the pandemic? What wish would you bestow upon our school leaders?
Yeah, and that's the magic wand. You know what, Maureen? I believe we have the magic wand. We all have it, right? We all have talents. I think it has to start with the belief in oneself. And I don't want that to come off poorly or wrong, but I think you have to have a strong belief that you can do the job, that you can have an impact on people, that you can move people to a place where they feel better about themselves and can take on the challenges, right? I have a staff in Port Jervis, New York. Again, been here 16 years of about 100 people. And My job is to make them feel the best they can about this place, themselves, and the work they're doing so they can be at their best for the kids, right? If the teachers don't feel inspired or want to come to a place where they want to be and they treat it like a job and they just show up, I think that can come out in their relationships with kids. I think we have an opportunity every day to impact kids' lives, right? I believe in the power of a single experience, Maureen, that if I say hello to a
Yes.
kid today, if I can have a positive impact on a kid's life, whether it's at school, whether it's through a positive experience or a negative experience. In my school community, we recently had a very difficult car crash. We also had a very difficult shooting, unfortunately.
Oh, my.
And I know that I need to be there for those families and those kids, right? So the magic wand is in the relationships, Maureen. Not everyone is a fan of Andrew Marotta, the author or the principal, right? But I know that I can have an impact on people. I know it's a great responsibility, and I treat it as such, right? I go back to the line from the great philosopher Yoda from Star Wars, right?
Yes.
Use your power for good, not evil, right? Being a Jedi is a very powerful thing, and you can do a lot with it. But if you go in the wrong direction, you can hurt people. Well, again, I don't want to come off wrong, but I respect the position of teachers and school leaders, and that you can have a very powerful impact on people because of those relationships. And you need to treat it as such. So each and every day, I need to be the best that I could be to serve these kids and to serve this community, the teachers, so that they can then provide great experiences for each other. When a kid leaves here, they don't say, man, I am just, we want them to fall in love with the subject area, right? We want them to fall in love with that content, but we also want them to fall in love with the personalities and the styles of our teachers, that they grew to love that person. They grew to love to go to that class because of those things. And I think that's all can go into those ingredients of the magic wand. I know I said a lot there, but I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely. And I get what you're saying about believing yourself. It's not arrogance. It's like, hey, I can do this and I have to do this. So it's like having that confidence so you can get out there and make the difference and create these relationships. I think now more than ever, our kids need to feel connected. And we know kids start to disengage from middle school to high school. A lot of kids disengage. So if you're loving up the teachers and making the school a great environment, and the teachers have the good energy then to love up the kids so that the kids want that relationship, want to be connected. Some people focus only on the content, and I know kids don't care what you know until they know you care. So when you talk about relationships, it's like, yeah, that sounds like an amazing magic wand.
100%. And the great TED Talk about an educator, I forgot her name. She said with that enthusiastic voice, kids can't learn from teachers they don't like,
Yes.
I agree with that, right? Our job is not to be liked, but our job is to create an environment where kids feel comfortable, make them want to come to school. We're trying to create a school here in Port Jervis of where kids are dying to get in, not that they can't wait to get out.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's a perfect note to end it on. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today.
Maureen, thank you. It was an honor. I love what you're doing with the Micro School Coalition, the Lead Prep, and certainly your podcast here, Education Evolution. You're doing great things.
Thank you. Can't you see what makes Andrew such an inspirational speaker and leader? He's so intentional in giving his best in the moment. His level of excellence, one we can all strive for, comes from a crystal clear vision, lots of self-awareness, his Kevin Costner ability of clearing the mechanism to rid himself of distractions, and an intentional focus on relationships. His interview is loaded with gems. Here are two I want to focus on. First, Andrew has a wonderful way of reminding us we're human and that's okay. And simultaneously, he calls us to do our best and be kind. It seems like we need to forgive ourselves for getting impatient or being anxious or whatever human limitations we express. And then we need to bestow that forgiveness and empathy on others. His reminder that we never know another's story or underlying pain or shame is poignant. There's a reason one of Stephen Covey's famous 7 habits is seek first to understand. Wouldn't our country and world be more harmonious, safe, and happy if we could practice this gentleness with ourselves and others? The second gem is our belief in ourselves, our individual power. Sometimes, as the Marianne Williamson quote in the show notes says, we're more comfortable playing small. I just have to quote a bit of her amazing poem. It constantly is a reminder to me. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Whew, scary to think about our magnificence, isn't it? She reminds us that playing small doesn't serve the world and that we're meant to shine. We have to believe in ourselves. When Andrew said that would be key for him, I completely agree. And then we have to follow Yoda's advice and use our power for good. Doesn't the world, with all of the pandemic concerns, institutional racism, inequalities, and beautiful, fragile humans, need and deserve your shining light? I think so. After a conversation with Andrew, I feel like I've been to church, held on a bullet train. This dose of encouragement and inspiration is such a welcome gift. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you, Education Evolution listeners, for sharing this moment with me. If you're finding yourself thinking, I need to do this in my school, let's talk about it. I consult with schools to help them find new, innovative solutions to reaching every student. Let's put together an action plan. Visit educationevolution.org/consult to book a call and let's get started. Education Evolution listeners, you are the ones to ensure we create classrooms where each student is seen, heard, valued, and thriving. We need you. Let's go out and reach every student today. I'd be so grateful if you'd head over to your podcast app to give a great rating and review if you found this episode valuable. Don't wait. Please do it right now before you forget. I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Signing off, I am Maureen O'Shaughnessy, your partner in boldly reimagining education.